Brews and Banter Podcast. Banter Podcast. Brews and Banter Podcast. What up, what up, what up? Welcome to Brews and Banter Podcast. I'm your host, Rob G. And with me, as always, is the Legendary Brew Crew. What up, fellas?
I got water, I got juice or whatever. It's like, y'all need twin legs? Matter of fact, I do.
To everybody is, does Nuremberg have an actual culture? This is the podcast that we talk about beer, but we also talk about a lot of things that's happening in the world, politics, movies, anything really that comes to our mind while we're here sampling these brews. Grab a drink and pull up a chair.
Another banger, baby, calm down, calm down. Yo, this your body, you put in my heart for lockdown, oh lockdown. Yo, you sweet life, phantom, phantom. If I tell you say I love you, you know they from the young girl, oh young girl. No, tell me no, whoa.
I don't know, man.
I didn't even ask.
Your face was asking all the questions.
I'm gonna play the song until you come back. Technology.
Hit one button and I was like, you know what, you out of here. That's not. I didn't hit that button. But now I'm back.
That's all right. It's all right. What up? Welcome to Bruising Banter Podcast, where the topic is the rockin' and the brew. Glad to the fuel. And I'm your host, Rob G. And with me, as always, Legendary Brew Crew. What's going on, Lou?
Hey, guys. How y'all doing? Hey, Rob. Right. How are you?
I'm great. This is episode 209. Shout out to 302 Yoda. Had to take
brother.
A day
feel
off.
Better, man.
Yeah, for sure. But this is episode 209. We have a great guest with us. So I'm glad if this is your first time checking us out. Welcome. If you're a returning listener, thank you. Thank you for coming back.
Thanks a lot.
It's like
this
lot going on in the world.
Be ridiculous today. It's going to be ridiculously good. I don't know. I just feel like, I'm off. I know I'm off today. I'm a little off. And I don't know if you are. I don't know.
I'm straight like chases or whatever. Straight like something. A pointy line. I don't know. There's a lot of things going on today.
Yes.
You got Keke Palmer and her boyfriend drama.
That's not drama. That's not drama. That's so dumb.
Or is a boyfriend, or do you once you have a baby with the person, are you still their boyfriend and girlfriend, or do you just baby mom or baby daddy?
I think I think baby mom, baby dad is when y'all break up. I think you always boyfriend, girlfriend, even when the babies come, until marriage, or a breakup.
Gotcha.
I think you would say, if you're not married, like if you weren't married to your wife and y'all had kids, I think you would say my child's mother or my girlfriend. But I think if y'all broke, I think baby mom and baby daddy is a little derogatory, so it's a negative connotation to that.
Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah, okay. I get you. All right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't know.
That doesn't matter at all because we don't have either. We don't have them. I have mother of my children, and that's it. You got your wife's, so that's how that works.
Yeah, but this is episode 209, like I said, and we have a great guest with us this afternoon, this morning, this evening, whenever you're listening or watching. We have LaTreace Harris, aka the Beery Godmother. I'm sure if you have seen her, if you're checking out IG, you've seen some of her wonderful reels that's giving you beer education, because she is also the owner of the Beery Godmother LLC, which is a beer consulting firm. So we want to bring LaTreace into the building. With a round of applause.
Welcome. Rim shots and applause.
Hey, love it. That was like the best interest I've ever gotten on a podcast. So cheers to y'all on that.
Cheers to you. Cheers to you.
That's what we try to do.
Cheers to you for saying that we're the best podcast you've ever been on. That's what I heard. That's exactly what I heard.
That's exactly.
You've only been 20 seconds in, and you already telling us that we're the greatest. Thank you so much.
Well,
it's only downhill from here.
Right, exactly.
Downhill. And probably-
Yeah, there you go.
She called us the best. We can't get no better
Y'all
than
don't
that.
let me down today now.
Oh shit! Too much.
Well, we could get a little better. No, I don't know. I mean, you can always find.
I started off saying I was off, so
right.
We can get better.
Yeah. And see, when you said that, I said, you know what? I got to come correct with the intro then.
Hey.
You stepped your game up. You stepped your intro game up. I got you. No half-assing today.
Yeah, it is.
And all partnerships, it's a give and take. Some people are 100, sometimes
Right.
10%. You gotta take some of the.
But sometimes you gotta teach me how to hunt. You gotta teach me how to gather, so that when you're sick and when you're out, I could do what you're not doing.
Right,
Thanks for pulling me up by my bootstraps.
No doubt. Well, Treats, we want to thank you for coming on. Before we get into it, we always like to know what everybody is drinking on, if they are drinking on. So, what are we drinking today? And I don't know, LaTreace, are you drinking something today?
Well, I'm not drinking at the moment. I'm about to start drinking. I mean, in all honesty, I just jumped off a Peloton run like maybe 15 minutes ago, and I was like, you know what? I probably should like have some water first before I start this drinking. But I will.
That's responsible.
I mean, just a little bit. Y'all want to actually have me like make it through the podcast, and y'all be like, hello, LaTreace. I'd be over here like. But
as long as you don't fall asleep, tipsy LaTreace is a good interview. As long as that person doesn't fall asleep on the mic, we'll be fine.
Well, there we go. No, but I will be drinking today an English IPA from Creature Comforts and Good Word collab. So when I'll be bringing up the can.
Where are those two breweries out of?
So Creature Comforts is out of Athens, Georgia, and I think they now have. I'm trying to think. They have a California location opening or soon to be opening. So more folks out on the West Coast will see a little bit more about them. But they pretty well known in the Southeast. And then Good Word Brewing is a single like brew pub scenario, but they brew a lot of like English beers and some of the things that just aren't brewed a whole lot. Out of Duluth, Georgia, so like northern. I used to live
in Duluth.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Are they the ones to do the little beer fest, or is that
little beer? Yeah, I was about to say they're the ones who do little beer, so that's turning into like a really good festival, particularly if you like I said, don't want to drink everything above in the high ranges. So little beer is gaining momentum. Always a good festival.
It's called little beer because of the low ABV.
That's exactly correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
so little beer turning into a big beer fest.
Right. As opposed to
big beer fest.
Little big.
Well, I was gonna say we also have a strong beer festival here in Atlanta, which everything I think has to be 8%. It's 8% above to even be like entered into competition and be like part of that actual festival. So that's in the winter, December, first weekend of December. If y'all are interested in popping down to that one. All your double IPA, triples, barley wines, quads, barrel aged stouts.
I think I'm gonna throw a beer fest called Wasted, and then you got to be 10% above.
10% above.
The same thing, right?
Or you could do mid range and just be between 4 and 8.
But hey,
we tell you bring your chairs, bring your blankets. If you got to sleep it off,
exactly.
If you got NyQuil, bring your sleeping bags.
Right.
Your slippers, PJs.
Exactly.
Oh man, that's good. A pajama jammy jam beer fest.
See,
good job.
Yeah, you got to be indoors.
It definitely got to be indoors. Well, it could be camping. You could glamp it.
Yeah, it could be camping.
Glamping. Yeah, you could glamp it.
I think that's probably. I think it might be better because I think security will have to be tight because when folks get liquored up, you need.
And then we spending the night too. Ugh.
Right. So you know what? I'll take that off the board. That's
we got at least have at least one, just one, and then when it goes to shit, we can be like, we tried it and it was terrible.
But it was legendary. Terrible.
It was legendary.
Good or terrible? Right.
I'm thinking like Burning Man meets Freaknik meets Burl and Flow. Like that's what I think when you say overnight beer fest.
Right, I got you.
It's going to get very.
We'll workshop it.
I had a whole bunch of images pop in my mind.
Me too. Me too.
Good
impact.
Good impact. Burning Man and Freaknik. Oh my goodness, that sounds like
right. Heavy cops. Heavy on the cops.
Heavy cops.
Heavy on the laws.
And probably agreements signed. People got to sign a waiver.
Yes, I like this. You turned it into Woodstock '99.
There it is.
Hopefully,
All
there'll
right,
be no death. No death.
Wasted 2025 coming to you soon.
Wasted.
Right.
Glamping wasted. I like it.
All right, Lou, what you drinking on?
Oh man, this is my turn. Shit, I forgot. I got this. We went to a brew fest on Friday. Me and Rob for Love City, not Love City. Attic Brewing. What's it called? Love what?
Local Love.
Local Love. I keep getting that mixed
Local
up.
Love
I like calling it the Attic Brewing Beer Fest because that's what it was. But basically, they had all the breweries that were based out of Philly
nice.
showed up, poured their beer. We got a chance to host it, so thanks very much, Attic, and all of you guys for showing up. But this is from Dock Street that I was able to procure. It's called Barracuda. It's a Berliner style ale brewed with hibiscus and raspberry. I thought that it was a sour. This is what it looks like. It tastes very sour. They did put some sour yeast. They also did some raspberry puree and hibiscus plant. It's delicious, man. It's very sweet and tart. If you like sours, this is right up your alley. If you wanted to get into the ales and the Berliners and stuff like that, and you like sweet shit, this is it, man. Pass me a whole nother. I wasn't supposed to take no can, but I took some cans. Yeah, so this was really
on
good.
that one.
Yeah, thank you guys. How about you, Rob? What you drinking on this week?
Yeah,
I'm actually drinking on from one of my favorite breweries out of PA, out of Philadelphia. It's Human Robot. It's the Robot West Coast IPA, and it's a collab with North. Huh?
I said Ken knew not to give me that. He's like, nah, bro, you don't want this.
It's a collab with North Park beer company. I think that's out of San Diego. I believe.
Mm-hmm.
They're their collab, so there it is. It's a West Coast IPA, but it's not as bitter as you would think when you
bitter.
So I enjoy this West Coast IPA. Yeah, Other ones I'd be like, nah, this ain't.
Not a West Coast.
It was tempered down a little bit more than what they were saying as far as West Coast goes, West Coast style goes.
It's like,
but it still is IPA.
Like a West Coast.
It still looks like a Westie. It still looks like it, but
but it has a more of a I guess hazy sensibility, I guess you would say.
Yes.
So it's a little more.
True. The way we talk about beer, man, that was fucking phenomenal.
I love that. I love the beer educator. He was like, yes, let's talk about
absolutely.
I
wanted to bring up LaTreace. I wanted to bring up how you could see it looked like an IPA just through the glass. That was amazing because it just looked like beer to me.
Well, I mean, like West Coast IPAs for the most part have a little bit more clarity. And that's literally the only reason why I said it. I wasn't necessarily because of the color; it was because of the clarity.
Nah, man, don't sell yourself short. Say as I saw it. It looked like IPA to me.
Well, I mean, like you said, a true West Coast, they tend to lean more so, towards like American style, IPAs, which are not necessarily hazy. They have gone, with those super like dank, piney, resinous hops normally, and they stay away from the haze. But to Rob's point, a lot of them to me are like they dial it back a little bit almost to make it like approachable for those people who are in the middle. Like I know some people who are like, I don't drink West Coast because they're too whatever. They're too like punchy for me. They're too harsh for me. They're too whatever, but they love hazies, right? They love them. But there's like a bridge, right? And I've noticed, some of these breweries are experimenting with West Coast that are like dialed down a little bit. So you're still giving the West Coast lovers what they love, right? People go for West Coast IPAs for a really specific reason, but then you're also like building reaching out a hand to the hazy. Like, make
thank you, hands. Reaching out to me.
Reaching out a hand.
They gotta reach a little further to get me though. Their hands ain't long enough.
Their hands ain't long enough. No, you're not trying to do it, Lou.
Nah, I don't. I'll taste anything, but I'm gonna tell you if it's gross. Like West Coast and hazy, like they smell delicious. They really smell fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, and then
that's a waste of water. Waste of water and hops.
All right.
Waste
of water and hops. I don't know if that's accurate, but I'll go with it.
I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion. This one's mine.
Yeah, most people be like, "Yo, West Coast is it,"
and I'll be staring at them like, "Y'all got mental issues. Like y'all need to."
I'm telling you, he's right. A lot of people, but everything isn't it that way with a lot of people?
Everybody's taste buds is different. It's just
exactly right.
It's just weird to me how it's just become a phenomenon, like just IPAs in general. And then people just being more specific in the West Coast, the East Coast, and New England, hazy, all these different like offsets of an actual IPA. And then like IPA stands for Indian Pale Ale, and aren't pale ale supposed to be like pale is like less, right? Like less harsh. But I feel like the Indian in it is making it more harsh, and that don't sound right at all.
So I have a whole thing on that because I had to learn about this too. So with India Pale Ales, number one, people think that they originated from India. They did not. That's one of the biggest misconceptions, because why wouldn't you think that, right? You'd be like, IPA, it's an India Pale. But from a historical context, those particular beers, like, when you start off in like, England and, parts of Scotland and, over in Europe where they were starting to make pale ales, where pale ales were like a thing, they needed to ratchet up these pale ales so that they could ship them. And they started adding more hops to them so that they could literally be shipped to India. So that's how they got their name.
So the flavor profile will last.
Yep. So from a preservative perspective. So that's why it got the name India Pale Ale. But, pale ales are because of their color, not because of their hop content or because of their mildness. So that's one thing I always remind people, like, if you drink a pale ale and expect it to be like, some people are like, oh, it's going to be mild. I'm like, no, that thing is going to be still hoppy. I think like, it's more like the body of it and the color. Yeah. Because I would be like, pale ale, and when I wasn't ready for IPAs yet, pale ale was like a lot. So I was like, "Ooh, this is a lot." Yeah.
That's not something you introduce a first time drinker to.
I read something that if the more bitter the beer, the more, and you like it, the worse your personality is. I think I read that somewhere.
I agree with that. I definitely want to stand on that one.
Your personality is a
little off. Yeah.
If you really love the bitterness. I don't know if that's true. Somebody Lou probably did that study. Yeah, that's good.
This sounds perfect. I can get rid of these IPA drinkers in one stroke.
Right, in one fell swoop. There you go.
It didn't work. Y'all motherfuckers are still drinking that shit.
All right. Well, LaTreace, you actually gave us a little bit of what you do already.
Sure.
So, but we are getting into it. So we want to know who you are, how you got into the game, and all that good stuff. So the floor is yours. Once again, welcome LaTreace Harris to the podcast.
Clapping, I'm telling you. I'm
the Beery Godmother.
So let me try to think. I think my craft beer experiences. So we're gonna take it way back. We'll take it back to like, I don't know, 1999, 2000, 2001. No. This is just becoming the first time I was starting to like drink beer. But what I thought, this was like Corona in the club. Every now and then, get a little grenadine poured in that thing.
Listen. That's how. Yes.
I'm telling you, that was it. Can't be ashamed of where you came from, right? So started there.
It was a talking point too.
It was.
Where you get that red beer from? Oh, come here, baby. Let me tell you all about this.
Where'd you get that from? Oh, it's Corona grenadine. Good God. So started there, and then it got to a point like around like 2004, 2005-ish. First of all, I'm a big sports fan, like big into football, big into basketball. And
Who you like?
So I'm gonna tell you. So football-wise, my teams have always been. God, now it's the Commanders. God, I'm from Maryland. I'm from right outside of DC. So up in Gaithersburg. If y'all familiar, I used to jump up to Philly when I lived at home. We would go to Philly often, like as little family trips, but the little ride, quick ride up there. But and then living in Atlanta, the Falcons. Okay. So I've been in Atlanta a long time. So those are kind of ride with the home teams in both cases. But anyway, so big fan of sports, and would go to sports bars and stuff and be like, meeting up with folks. And a lot of my guy friends would be like, all right, I'd sit down. I'd be like, let me get that vodka. And, it's noon, let me get that vodka and cranberry. And they're like, girl, like,
It's
love
noon.
you, but you
It's
gotta
noon.
stop it. Like you are not. Or I'd be like, what y'all drinking? And they, they'd be like, oh, we got drinks for the table. I'm like, what y'all get? Oh, we got a bucket of whatever, or Stella or whatever is coming out. I'm like, ugh, They're like, girl, you better get on this train. You got to find yourself a beer. So I think I started out Blue Moon. Was it?
Yeah.
Everybody, Blue Moon and Stella. I was fancy drinking both of them. And then for me, it kind of, I never thought I would be a beer like drinker like I am, and let alone never thought I would be doing what I'm doing now as far as Beery Godmother is concerned. But it really just developed as like a constant exploration. I mean, I'm sure y'all can relate where, you get one beer, then you get another beer, then you get another, and you just you're on this search to like find what you like. And of course your palate goes through different phases. So, that had been my journey from like the mid 2000s all the way up until like 2020. Of course, COVID hits, and, I was drinking a lot, of just everybody was just going trying beer from everywhere, doing a lot of like Zooms with friends of mine. And I started really realizing like in beer, how many times the conversations I loved about beer were more so in the weeds, like very weedy, like let's talk about the hops, let's talk about how you brewed this, like what type of water chemistry do you do, blah, blah, blah. It was all really like very weedy. But then also I would find that like people started to come to me to ask me like, like, what are you drinking? Or like they're in the liquor store, what do I get? And like, or talking about like, I want to try this particular beer. This is what it says on the can. What is it going to taste like? So I started getting a lot of questions like that. And
When did that transition happen for you? You're at the bar. You're at the bar before the game, drinking vodka and orange juice.
Yeah.
And then you go to Stella, and then a couple years later, people are asking you what your thoughts are. How did that transition happen?
I mean, it was a lot of years later. We're talking about like 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
All in the middle was filled with like going to a lot of beer festivals. That was number one. Like, I here in Atlanta, we started finding out about like, oh, if you volunteer these beer festivals, you can get in for free. So, like, yes, let's go ahead on and do that, and this is when it would be like no Black people at all at the beer festival, like me and Jen Price. I remember, I'll never forget, like me and her were volunteers. Jen Price, Crafted for Action,
yes.
Atlanta's finest.
For sure.
We were like, man, there's nobody else Black here, like, but we were there exploring beer and stuff. And so like I said, over time, Lou, thank you for like that. It was a gap, like a 10, 12 year gap with all that exploration. So then, like, so you get to that point of 2020. And I always knew I wanted to do something in the beer space. Like I felt like I had something to give to the beer community, but I couldn't figure out what it was going to be, right? I was kind of looking around. I'm like, well, I don't know. I mean, I'm just really interested in the education part, right? Like I'm tired of going to places where sometimes I know more than the bartender, or like I'm tired, I see my beer people that I know in the industry, like breweries, folks that I, know, and they're like, God, we want to be able to like do a little bit more with training of our staff, but like, we don't know, we can't find the time, right? Like either that training is falling on the brewer, on the, taproom manager. They're trying to figure out, how to do it. They're just trying to stay open, to be honest. We all know the game that breweries are in right now. And so I kind of just started being like, you know what? I think I want to do something that's really beer education facing and very focused on that. And I knew that like being a Black woman in this industry, it would allow me, once I was like, I could do a whole lot of different things, right? I think there's still a big gap, we all know, in exposure of Black people to beer. And I felt like, there was a melting pot for that in Atlanta here. But one of the things I really, like I said, just wanted to focus on was the education piece. I, prior to doing this, spent 15 years as a in-home math and science tutor as a side gig. So the teaching part is in me, conveying information to people, complex information to people in a way that's a little bit more palatable. So I was like, screw it, I'm about to do this. Like I have my 9 to 5 is a very stressful job that I have. And kind of during COVID, I was like, man, you know what? I'm going to do something for myself. Like I'm going to start Beery Godmother. And all I knew was I just want this to be a place where, I can build educational curricula, that I can help breweries train their staff, and that will have some component of like the public facing, like beer classes or something like that. And it just kind of jumped off the edge at me, you know, like I never really thought of myself as an entrepreneur, never really thought of myself as somebody who would ever start their own business. And so it's like been a journey, you know, and it continues to grow. And I think that's the best part sometimes about, you know, doing something like what I'm doing, is that like education can take many forms, right? So as I grow in beer, my business will grow in those directions as well. So it's been a blast. I mean, you know, I feel like, you know, Beery Godmother started in January of 2022. I can't believe it's almost been a year. It's been a year and a half at this point. And to go from like, you know, just trying to reintroduce myself to the people that I knew in Atlanta and that I know in Atlanta, like, hey, this is my business, this is what I'm doing now, to like, you know, gaining some pretty good momentum right now. It's pretty dope, and getting a chance just to meet, like, the people I have met through beer have just been, you know, it's been a great ride so far.
Absolutely. I'm curious to know, since you say you like the, I guess, the nuance or the getting into the weeds of the beer. Like, do you home brew or have you just or do some brewing on the side? Like, how does that work?
So I have helped folks home brew before. I got, you know, a couple of you know, friends here. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Hip Hop Heads guys here out of Atlanta. They're a brewery in planning who have been brewing for probably about 3.5, almost 4 years now, as they've been on their journey, like I said, to open up a brick and mortar. And so, you know, I jump in the lab with them and, you know, brew with them. Also have attended a couple of like brewing homebrew clubs here in Atlanta. I've yet to set up my own setup for home brewing. I know it takes, you know, you can do it obviously in like a really small space. But you know, I got to clean out my garage first. I got to do that. But yeah, so, you know, but like I said, and also have had numerous opportunities to brew with brewers here at breweries in Atlanta. Just because I'll say, hey, can I tag along for this brew day? You know, I'm trying to learn and make sure that the information that I'm conveying is right, because, you know, there's like book knowledge and then there's like the way that the brewers do it, you know, and you kind of got to know both if you're going to tell people about something, because, you know, like we all know, I mean, you know, you go to college, okay, this is what you learned in the book. When you get on your job, how applicable
that book
is
didn't even work. Yeah, that book
exactly,
was just so you put it on your resume. Yeah,
exactly. So that's the whole thing. So it's like just trying to make sure I'm constantly in touch with like what Cicerone says versus like, or what BJCP says, the beer judges certification program guidelines, like what they say versus like brewers are like, well, we kind of, you know, because there's creative light on some of that, right? Or the flow of how things work, you know, maybe a brewery setup doesn't allow something to follow the exact flow that's written as like the recommended flow. So they do what they got to do. Yeah, but that's kind of how that works.
So do you actually go into local breweries or breweries across the country to give so instead of, because I was thinking when you said that all these brewers want to have their beer tenders educated, but they don't have the time. And then I was thinking if they do have the time, they're going to educate them what they want, right? It's not like a universal education. When you coming from the outside looking at individual breweries, you're given a universal education that's specific to the brewery. That's pretty much how it works.
That's pretty much how it works and how I'm trying to build it out. So I think right now I'm kind of at a growing space where I'm trying to decide, okay, how do I do just that? Like what you just said, Lou, like as far as like making sure that I am tailoring things to the brewery, but coming from a place of universal education. So a lot of the information that I'm using is coming from Cicerone. You know, Cicerone is kind of like the authority on beer education, the beer material. And it's working with that brewery to decide, you know, what do you all want to lean into? You know, what is it that your staff need the most help with? So it could range from, I've done, you know, trainings for breweries where all we do is styles, where they're like, their brewers are like, or excuse me, their beer tenders are like not doing great on being able to identify styles. Or some of them are like, you know, can you just help them with how to serve and keep beer, i.e., you know, how are you supposed to be pouring a beer? What glassware are you supposed to be using? You know, like how do you change a keg? You know, how often are you supposed to be cleaning your lines and, going through the line cleaning part, like all of that. And so one of the things I do tell them is like, look, the universal part is going to be that Cicerone information, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can package it however you guys want to package it, but then you tell me what else you need, right? So it is important to me to have some standardization in there, and like I said, sometimes it depends, like in talking to brewers, they will interpret information or tell their beer staff things in a certain way, and the beer staff is kind of like glazed over. They're like, what did he just say? Or what did she just say? Or what did they just say? Like it's sometimes it's in the translation piece. So I'm at a point where I'm trying to figure out, I love hands-on work with breweries. Like I really do. I love that. Like, let's get in the lab, let's plan what you want to do. Let me, come out and work with your staff. But there's only one me, right? And this is not my full-time job. So it's trying to figure out, okay, how do I come up with like, some online material, some packages, some whatever that allows me also to touch and interface with breweries, or, can I do an online class with them, or virtual class with them, and then I come out or whatever. It's where you can still have those touch points, but, like I said, it's not just going to be me, like I said, I'm not doing this full time, at least at this point. So,
I was about to say, is that the goal?
I don't know. If you had asked me that a year ago, I'd have been like, absolutely not. I'd have been like, no, I don't know how that's going to happen. I work for the federal
vision.
I didn't see the vision, right? I didn't see the vision.
And you work for the federal government. You got a pension. They're like, I
don't want that to be a full-time job at all.
Oh, I can't do this.
Exactly.
Maybe when I'm 65, I could take this up.
But I'll be able to retire. I got about 10 or 12 years.
You 55 years old?
I would be. I think I retired 57. So
damn.
Yeah. So I'm
young.
like,
you look really young.
Yeah.
I would never put you in your 50s.
Exactly.
Never.
And you're like, God, I'm looking good at black don't crack, I guess. But yeah. So it's one of those things that I'm like, how can I do this in a way that's like the most efficient, that I enjoy the most, but that I'm also contributing, in the spaces I want to contribute in. So,
so in that, you're saying you're solo in this business. Are you thinking that it needs it, if in order for it to expand, you have to hire you, or maybe. Like, yeah, because you can't. Maybe. If somebody in Oregon wants you to come out and beer test for them, and you got this federal government job, I'm sure it's not going to be able to be done in Oregon,
right?
So, like,
right.
So, like, was that like when you were like, I'm never quitting my job for this? That probably wasn't even a thought, like that you weren't going to be just local.
Right, exactly.
And now you're national. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
right. So you got some business planning to do.
Yeah, I got man. Yeah. I'm telling you, it's still, and it's always growing. I mean, I have to think about things, like you said, that I didn't think about in the beginning. I mean, you're just kind of like, you don't even know what's going to hit, and you don't know. And I think you guys probably know this too. Like, you don't know what's out there until you know, right? You don't know what the needs are. You don't know like what's possible. Your brain can't even imagine it, right? Unless you've been exposed to it. So that's the part for me, I think, right now that's just so interesting, like to have been in my 9 to 5 for so many years. You kind of are familiar, like, yeah. It's, you nothing really new is getting thrown in my face. But like with this, it's an entirely different space. And I get to make decisions, to steer the ship whichever way I want it to go, which is like exciting and scary at the same time. Yeah,
being the boss is hard and fun.
Now I'm curious to know, and I guess I probably should ask this earlier, like, where did the name, the Beery Godmother?
It's so good. Yeah. It's so, I'm surprised it never got trademarked before you got it.
Yeah, right. Great and I'm in the process of trademarking right now. Matter of fact, but yeah. So one of the things about me is that I was that person, and still, I mean, probably not as much anymore, but like when I was getting like heavily into like chasing beer, like i.e. new drop happened, going to get that 4-pack. New drop happened here. I would like go around all these different breweries and be like, well, I'm about to go get this. So I would always have a lot of beer. But then, you realize like you can't drink beer.
I drink all that.
Exactly. You can't drink all that, right? So I would have beer that I started to just like give out to like breweries that I like, I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna drop off a mixed
dope.
4-pack.
That's so dope.
I would drop off a mixed 4-pack or whatever. And so a really good friend of mine who works at a brewery, I would come in with like this like good, what they would call this goodie bag, right? Like I would have like a igloo cooler, bag or whatever with me all the time. Come in with this beer. And when they see me coming with this beer, they're like, oh my God, here she comes. Like breweries are like, yes, like here she's about to drop us off some heat. So one of my friends who worked at one of these breweries was like, oh my God, you come in here like the Beery Godmother. Like you come in here with this beer, like, and drop it off like the Beery Godmother, like, here y'all go, and I'm not, and I wasn't asking for anything. Like literally people couldn't fathom, like, why is she coming in here with this beer and she doesn't want anything? It's not like she's like, oh, give me this, I'm gonna give it. It was never that. It was just that there's good beer that's about to go bad. I don't want it to go, has a shelf life. It's a shame. You don't want to like drain more stuff. So I'm like, somebody should enjoy it. So that was where it came from. And literally that name was given to me maybe back in 2018 or 19. And I just, again, wasn't thinking anything about, doing anything with this, but it just always was something that stuck. And people knew me for, I'm the one who rolls up to the house party and then going like, oh, here she go again, because I would always bring beer through. And so that was just always something that was characteristic of me and Beery Godmother came. And so at first I was like, man, I had it as a name and I was like, okay, I don't know. And I kept trying to be like, is this? And I was like, surely this is gone. There's no way. I started, there's no way in the world this is still in existence. So I like grabbed the IG maybe 3 or 4 years ago, like grabbed it just because I was like, when I found out nobody had it, I'm like, wait a second. Then when I actually started my LLC, they, of course, go through a process where they're looking to see, like, is there any other business named this? Nope. Right. I was like, okay. So then I went forward, like I said, with the trademarking, process, which is like in process now. But it's wild. I like the name.
That's a great story.
Yeah, man. I think it works. And, like I said, Beery Godmother to me encompasses like, somebody who's like, I'm not out here trying to act like I am like the godmother, like the authority of all beer, right? But what I am trying to do, what does the godmother do? She sprinkles off things, right? She's like, here you go, you need this, I mean, like I think about the fairy godmother, and like, she's just like bringing good things, right? Like what do you want? Bringing good things. And so with me, it's bringing that information forward so you can make a good decision about, the beer that you're drinking and all that good stuff. So
it's funny because every time I see the name, the Beery Godmother, I feel like I see a flying fairy with instead of a wand, they have like a beer.
And they just dropping beers in bags.
Something funny. So that's like, so when I originally started doing my logo, that was one of the possible logos that I had was like, like literally a fairy, like with a beer wand and all this or whatever. And I went for the more subtle, like you can still see the wings on mine, and she has a beard, but I was like, and maybe if I had kept working with the graphic designer, I could have got it. But like at the time, it looked too much like the fairy part was like the focus. And I was like, I kind of want the beer part to be the focus. You know what I mean? So, but it's funny, but yeah, that's what everybody envisions. Everybody's mind goes there. So, like you said, y'all might have given me an idea at some point. Beer,
at least just a t-shirt, if nothing else.
Exactly. At least just a t-shirt, right? Like the t-shirt, like put a body on this woman's face. Put her, put her with a wand. Give her some character. But it's funny though, because like I think everybody just in the creative process gets rested. I'm like, what can I do with my logo to like?
I need to update this thing. Yeah,
exactly.
There it is. What do you? Are you still Beery Godmothering through breweries throughout Georgia? Are you still flying through and dropping off?
I am.
Random beers?
Yeah, I literally dropped some beer off yesterday.
Do you have wings? Do you have a set of wings?
I think now you gotta come in full.
Like I feel like you should be wearing wings every time you go out.
Every time, hey, I need to be just having wings and a
At least put it on the igloo. At least put it on the igloo bag. Put the wings on the bag.
At least I need to put it on the bag, and I need to have, you right, because I actually need to beef up my igloo, right? It needs to be like, ferried out.
You need to kind glue and make and have them make you a specific one. I'm sure you can do that.
I think I probably should. I'm for real.
It's probably gonna be expensive as shit, but I'm sure they could do it. I'm sure they could do it.
Sure, a custom igloo, yeah.
Yeah, custom igloo.
Yeah, but yeah, I just dropped off some beer yesterday because I was at a beer festival last Saturday in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I spend a lot of time. I go back and forth there. My parents live there, and because of this 9-to-5 job that I work remotely, I have the ability to go back and forth. But there was a beer festival jointly.
Free Well or something like that?
Yeah, For the Whales. Yeah, For the Whales, Resident Culture brewing out of Charlotte and Hopfly out of Charlotte and Rocky Mount, North Carolina, threw it together. And they had some pretty heavy hitters that came through. But at the end of that festival, y'all know how it goes. I mean, they're like, come back, they're giving away beer and come back here and get all,
Nobody wants to take beer home.
Yeah, nobody. But it's funny to watch how like people have gone from like having like kegs and jockey boxes and all that to just nothing but cans. A lot of these beer all cans. So of course I'm like, here we go, and so I walk out with like a case from Human Robot. I got a couple good things from Human Robot actually. So I'm always excited when these breweries come from whatever. So I was like, here we go. Cause I got to keep these beers rotating. Like my beer fridge is full. I'm like, I got my lagers like sitting, like upstairs, making sure they're temperature regulated. I'm like,
gosh, lady. I love it. I love it. You got a temperature regulated room just for the lagers?
Yeah, man. Or just in a room, in a specific room where I know I usually keep the temperature. Cause I'm like, all right, they don't have to be in the fridge just yet, but like they need to be in the fridge soon. Like, it's that whole thing. So anyway,
sidebar, stop. Yeah. You got rooms in your house that could be different temperatures because you set them that way, or because nature does it?
So
I got a nature regulator in my house, but I don't have an actual thermostat in every room.
No. So the thing is, though, I have a zone. Yes. So it's a room in my house. It's at the bottom of my townhouse that, I have a 3-level townhouse, but they put a thermostat, they put a zone on each floor. And so it's only like one room, and it just so happens to be a thermostat.
But it's regulated. It's like floor regulated.
Floor regulated, exactly.
I still don't have that, but that's amazing.
Floor regulated.
Atlanta, baby.
right. Every house in Atlanta is like made in 2023, even when it was made in 1980.
So that's the thing. So that's the only reason.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like,
that's cool.
It's the room where like I work out in, and I have my office. So it's like a multi-purpose, but I know where I keep that temperature. So I'm like,
right.
It's not gonna get too hot in here.
How many beer fridges do you have?
I only have one right now. I have one beer fridge and a wine fridge. And I literally was yesterday, as I was like doing some cleaning, right? Some like looking at like, ooh, this IPA is from August of 2022. Probably should pour it out from in my beer fridge. I was like, I need another beer fridge, but I will not do it. I'm like, because my beer fridge is not small. It's not like the little cube. You know what I'm saying? It's a pretty nice size. So I'm like,
how many beers are in your refrigerator?
In like my actual refrigerator, like where I keep food?
Yes.
Right now, oh man, I mean maybe like 2 4-packs worth.
Okay, not too bad.
Okay. I try not to put a ton.
I know we all try not to.
Try not to. Yeah.
Well, how many beers you got in your refrigerator?
Not anymore. Not anymore.
Not any. Okay.
Is that most of the time? It's mostly the time. It's the ones that don't fit correctly in the beer.
Yeah.
Oh, I got you. Like the big bottles or the weird cans. Yeah. I know what you mean.
Those are the ones I normally like. I can't. Like I have the, and I haven't never drank it. Shout out to Chris who got me the Budweiser Biggie can.
Would you just hold on to it?
Holding on to Budweiser. Like I'm not gonna drink it at this point.
Yeah, it's Budweiser. It's not a Biggie beer. It's Budweiser in a Biggie can. Gotcha.
So I wanted the can. I didn't really care about the beer, but
yes, that makes perfect
sense. FYI.
Was that?
I said the beer has arrived.
Oh, you're drinking now. The water session's over.
I got
Okay.
hydrated. I got hydrated. So,
Nice.
we got the shout outs to Good Word. I'm trying to get on Good Word and Creature Comforts. This English IPA. English hop.
I know Good Word was that. I know Good Word was that Irie Jungle. I don't know if Creature Comforts were. I know Good Word was for sure.
I've heard of Creature Comfort, but I don't know where. I don't know where. I need to start keeping notes.
Yeah. Well, so many.
Yeah.
But it's like regional too. So like, I just like learned about like Human Robot, for instance, like maybe.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, like, and like anything northeast, like moving up, like Shilling blowing up and
Shilling's good.
Yeah.
We I feel like the same thing with you guys in Georgia, but because Black beer culture I feel like Black beer culture in Atlanta, in Georgia in particular, is the best in America. Maybe the best in the world. Like you can't find more Black people per capita that like beer unless you go to the Atlanta perimeter area.
I agree.
So I know where all y'all beer is. Like if you're not posting it, Atlanta, it's like it's always somebody from Atlanta. It's like 1,000 of y'all that just like to drink beer. You know what I mean? Like, that are on Instagram just because hey, I like to drink beer. I'm gonna start a beer page. I just want to go to Beer Fest and drink beer. I was at here and I posted this. I'm here. I posted this. I got this. Like y'all all know each other. It's such a good community. So it's weird when you say I never heard of that beer up here because I've heard of all the Georgia beer because there's so many Black people down there posting Georgia beer.
And that's wild, right? Beer, like that's super wild. I mean, I think like I said, Atlanta is unique. It gives you that feel. I mean, like I said, we already have so many Black people that drink beer, frequent breweries, like are there. You're not gonna go into a brewery here and be the only one. Now I would say that in the metro area. Now you go, outskirts.
Yeah, past that perimeter. You go outside that perimeter. Yeah.
Outside of the perimeter, you might be, but
y'all call it OTP? Y'all really call it that?
We literally call it OTP. It's ITP and OTP. Like literally, if inside the perimeter and outside the perimeter, like, and we know, like, oh, you inside. People want to know, like, are you inside the perimeter? And it's like, okay, yeah, you inside the perimeter. You're like in the city, what's considered the city, right? Although Atlanta suburbs are still, considered part of the city.
Mall of Georgia is in the city, ain't it? Nowadays,
Mall of Georgia is way out.
My sister lives 5 minutes from Mall of Georgia and had the nerve to say, people ask me, I just tell people I live in Atlanta.
No,
it gets on my nerves so much that I just like, yeah, sure. Because I'm like, I don't live in Atlanta, I live in Georgia.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, what part? And she's like, I live by Mall of Georgia. And I'm like, what's that? She's like, I live in Beaufort, Georgia. She's like, what's that? She's like, man, I live in Atlanta. And they're like, okay. I just leave her alone after that. But everybody wants to know, like, where is Beaufort? And like, man, it's 10 minutes from Atlanta.
Sounds terrible.
Beaufort is not terrible. It's
not
far.
It sounds terrible.
Far. Exactly. And it's so funny that you say, it's not terrible. It's just, I used to live in Norcross.
Me too.
Adjacent to, I lived in Norcross for 10 years, like straight up when I got out of grad school until like 15, 16. And I got tired of making that trip.
That's a trip, man.
In the city, man. That was,
what's crazy about it, Rob, is it's 15 miles. So for us, we're like 20 minutes, we be there. Right. Not her. It's gonna take her an hour. It's gonna take her an hour. Unless she leaves at 3:00 in the morning. She leaves at 3:00 in the morning. She could probably get there in 40 minutes. Yeah. It's fucking ridiculous. The traffic is so dumb.
Traffic's wild.
Six lanes of traffic going one way, and you still have
in Georgia. It's terrible. I get it.
All the time.
I don't understand why, but
all the time. Why y'all always busy?
God, I don't know, and it's gotten worse.
Y'all work?
Right, y'all work on the road. Like you literally got your earpiece in working.
It's terrible. I mean, and like I said, as somebody who's been in this city in some capacity since 1998, and to watch it grow, I'm like, this makes no sense. Like it used to be bad, but it's. The part of town I live in now, I am like in West Midtown, almost Smyrna, if you're familiar with that, Lou. And I was like, okay, how I move about now is better. Because the interstate I deal with is not as terrible. But I glance over like while I'm on my way to somewhere like halfway Crooks, which is also growing in Georgia, Halfway Crooks Brewing. I'll like peek over and I can see where 75, 85 are coming together, like from the airport and coming in, and they're just gridlocked. And it's, 11 a.m. gridlocked. It's like 2 p.m. gridlocked. Like I was driving yesterday, I was like, oh, God, like this is just terrible. They'll say, how like on the, I don't know if you guys' highways, I'm sure they do. Well, it'll say like how many miles per hour a particular highway is. So like this highway is between 55 and 60. And this one, it's always 10. It'll be like 10 to 15 miles. And I'm like, oh,
like Georgia needs
I can't be on no interstate.
Oh,
yeah, they do, man.
Yes. Yeah,
they
Rob,
do, man. That MARTA system is trash, I guess.
Trash. It is trash. And there is I'm like, I don't know why. We want to be so, we're so up and coming in Hollywood and like LA and New York. And I'm like, no, we're not until we get public transit.
Yeah, we gotta get this gridlock out of the way.
We gotta get it out
and get people to want to be on public transit. Like Atlanteans and Georgians are so car specific. It's like us, Rob. It's like Delaware. Like as soon as you go 16, you want your license in Georgia, so you could get driving. Not that you ain't been driving since
100,000 people in Delaware.
Right. And they still trying to expand lanes here. They still trying to expand lanes. But Atlanta just like, nah, y'all good. Y'all
yeah,
be fine.
I mean, it's wild, man. It's wild. And I mean, like I said, the MARTA is just not functional. It's
the
not
MARTA is great if you're coming from the airport.
Yes.
That's it.
The airport's perfect. Yep.
That's it. The MARTA ain't good for no MARTA. Do better.
LA's traffic is trash too. So to be fair, LA traffic is trash.
LA traffic is bad.
But I feel like LA is like
on their public transportation as well.
But LA is like what Atlanta wants to be. Like LA been like LA is what Atlanta was in like, I mean, Atlanta is what LA was in like the 80s.
Yeah.
And now LA is just like, fuck y'all. Like, do it. Figure it out. And Atlanta's like, we want to be big, but we want to figure it. Y'all don't want to figure it out. Just be like LA and don't figure it out. Just let
don't figure it out. I mean, I'm like, people, it's just like you said, it's no time at 3:00 in the morning, maybe you're good. But I mean, it's like I've never lived anywhere because coming from the DMV, we had very specific rush hour times. It's like, all right, rush hour is gonna be from like 6 to 9, then it starts to calm down, and then you're like, okay, then 3:30 or 4:00 to 7, and it starts coming down. Here it's like, okay, so I've never seen lunchtime traffic, y'all, as bad. I'm like, so all y'all leaving for lunch? Like
and where y'all driving to get this lunch? Like you got an hour, don't you? Why you driving 20 minutes away?
And why you on the interstate to go get it?
Like, to go to get the lunch.
This is what I'm saying. Y'all. Atlanta.
I did not mean for your podcast to be 20 minutes about traffic in Atlanta, but shit, it was worth it. It's a
crazy guy.
And then I think there's a guy who's saying telling black folks to move to go back to the South. He wrote a whole book saying, "Come on back to the South, take back your heritage." I can't remember who the gentleman is.
Is he black?
Yeah, he's black. He's saying, because we
take back your heritage. Sound weird.
Well, he said the Great Migration, we all left the South. It was like, no,
not
come
all of
on
them.
back.
Not all of them. It's more black people that drink. It's more black people that drink beer in Georgia than anywhere in the world.
That's like one spot.
It's a niche. It is a niche.
It's a niche. It is.
But at the same time, like Atlanta, not so much Georgia, but Atlanta, it seems progressive, right? It seems like a northern or a West Coast city.
It is.
But then Mobile, Alabama, Huntsville, Alabama, not so much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like take back the South. Maybe
I mean, Atlanta is an anomaly.
It definitely is. Like it's all this other whiteness around Atlanta is
that's what he's saying. Come on back home. He's saying come back home to Mobile.
Yeah, it's an anomaly. People
they
feel
got Mobile. They have it. I come to visit.
Right. Yes.
No, you want to be in Mississippi?
The name of their state school is called Ole Miss.
Right. Just
their name, their
flag waving.
And the because you know why? Because their mascot is a rebel. His name is a rebel.
That's why that image is emblazoned.
Y'all definitely named the mascot after 1865. I don't appreciate it.
Or maybe he was one of the he was George Washington, rebel. No, I don't know.
He was definitely not George Washington.
Abraham Lincoln? I don't know.
Cheers.
Well, anyway, we get to
Yes.
Yes, back on track. Back on track. I do have a question about you specifically. Let me get to my notes. I did take
Yeah.
notes.
Okay.
So you do your what do you call it every Friday? What do you
my
call
Beer Fact Fridays.
Beer Fact Friday? Yeah, I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure I got it right. How
Yeah.
do you know what topic you're going to pick for Beer Fact Friday?
The Beer Fact Fridays?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I keep like a running log of things that either pop in my mind that I think like are interesting or something that like, a beer consumer needs to know, or it's kind of like whatever I'm feeling at the time. Like I was talking to some friends yesterday and I was telling them like, people are always like, oh, do you record your Beer Fact Friday? Do you record like a couple of them at a time and then roll them out? How do you do this? Right. And I'm like, well, I will only record 2 at a time max because sometimes it depends on how I'm feeling. So like, let me give you all an example. Like, so recently I did a Beer Fact Friday on how to drink through a flight. And that came up. I had a whole different plan. Like, I think I was going to do like glassware or something or other, like appropriate glass. And I was like, you know what? I've had literally 3 people ask me in the last week, like, how do you know what order to drink your flight in? I'm about to just do this right now because it's at the forefront of my mind. I want to do it. Right. I feel like it's so I do a little bit of that, but like I said, a lot of it is, me just trying to kind of start with basics. I try to fluctuate between like basics and then more complex things. The complex things are harder when you try to think about how you're going to break them down. But a lot of it is like, there's so many like beer facts out there, and you can take it every you'd want to just talk about styles, even history, serving practices, whatever. There's a whole bunch of different things. And I always am just trying to kind of come back to like, for Beer Fact Friday specifically, like, who is my audience? Right. I've always asking myself, like, okay, who's my audience? Is my audience, everyone? Is my, audience the beer novice? Is my audience the beer aficionado? Like, who is my audience? And I feel like I always kind of want to be the like more catchment of, kind of just like your average beer drinker. But just because that's my audience doesn't mean that they can't digest, like I said, complex information. So,
True.
that's my job, right? My job is to think about, what are the things that people want to know about beer that make them curious about beer, and how can I, keep the topics fresh, and keep them, things that like I get excited about. Like, I don't know. I mean, for me, doing Beer Fact Friday is not like just like a check box. I gotta be consistent with this thing. It's more like if I'm not feeling, like I said, I have a couple of things in my bag right now that I have not done yet because I'm like, I'm not hype on this. Like, I am not hype on this thing yet, right? And then you've seen me move around. Like, there's been some times where like I've done Belgian beers at a Belgian beer bar. Like I'm have some upcoming stuff where I'm like want to do German styles in the backdrop of a German place. Like, there's certain things there that I try to capture. Because I think just the ambiance is better. But like I said, I want to be hyped. Like, when I sit down to do Beer Fact Friday, I want to be able to just do it and be like, I was hype about that. I feel good about that. And it doesn't really matter to me, like, 50 million likes. I mean, it's very interesting. The public is not fickle, but the things that I'm like, I'm like, I don't really know how this is gonna hit. Somebody's like, this is the best thing I've ever seen, and then the things
the dumbest things go viral, and the shit you put all your heart and soul in gets 3 likes.
Exactly.
Oh, trash, man! Like the world, the people on Instagram and social media, they are fickle. We are fickle in that.
That's also the algorithm also mess with a lot.
Right, the algorithm does mess with you too. Right, exactly. True. So I just try to make sure that I'm like, what? At the time, I was excited about this because I wanted to get this out to the public, right? And if I feel like that's like my bar. That's it.
So I'm actually this because you said you talked about the flights, and for those of people that are listening to us that aren't familiar with your Fact Fridays, why don't you give us a quick thing of how to drink flights? Because before you gave that, I never even knew. Like, I'm like, she poured that one, or he poured that one first.
Yeah.
This is here. I'll drink this one first. But you're saying that there's a specific order to it. So if you don't mind giving us tell us about that.
Absolutely. Great question, Lou.
Thank you.
So
Thank you
so I mean, I always say with flights, flights are a popular way to be able to try a bunch of different beers at once, and you don't have to commit to anything, right? I like the idea of flights, like I said, because it allows you to be able to kind of say, oh, I like this, I like that, and you can either get another beer when you're done with your flight, or you don't have to. You just said I've tried all these styles, right? So it's not necessarily about you picking a specific flight and you being like, okay, I got to put these beers in it. It is about an order, right? So, you're usually going to want to, first of all, evaluate what you've picked. A lot of people just, you just pick whatever you like, right? I'm not, like a lot of times it's not like you're saying, I'm only going to be drinking lagers today, or I'm only going to be drinking IPAs or stouts or whatever. You're picking all over the board, and that's the purpose. So you're going to start out with usually like the thing that I always say is like the least palate coating, right? Like the thing that is going to almost be like your starter. It sets you up for the rest of the beers in your flight. So you're going to pick the thing that is like the least, the thing that's going to coat your palate the least, right? It's going to be not necessarily like the lightest, because some people are like, oh, you mean the lightest? I'm like, no, don't always mean the lightest. I mean like the thing that is going to linger the least when you drink it. And then you're going to move from there. So there's a couple of different ways to move from there. And I talk about a little bit of this on Beer Fact Friday, but you can either say, okay, like I want to move to the thing. You look at your whole entire like flight and you're going to say, okay, I want to set it up such that like the next beer is going to set up the subsequent beer and vice versa. Right. So I think in the flight that I had something like a brown ale and then I had an IPA. And I actually drank them as the brown ale first and then the IPA. And people were like, oh, could you do that the opposite? And I'm like, well, yeah, you could. But those two beers have similarities in that an American brown ale does have hops in it. The style is more hoppy, or has more hop character to it than some of like the more British brown ales and some of the other things like that. So it is a really good runway to something like an American style IPA. Like it sets you up. Like it's like mild hops, and then you have like more robust hops in the IPA. One thing I do say, as you're making your way through the flight, a personal opinion of mine, and I mean I've heard other folks say it too, you don't want to drink that sour anywhere near the front of your flight. You need to save the sour for the end, just because sours are so astringent in their nature, period. So unless you're that person who's like, well, maybe I'm going to drink this sour and then I'm going to like completely coat my palate and wash my palate and do all this, sure. But most of the time I say save your sour for last. Similar, to something like a stout, imperial stout, something like that. The alcohol warming nature of that can throw off, plus it pretty much coats your whole palate too. It can, it's a reason why stouts are like meant to be, more of those like it's almost like an after dinner drink, right?
Yeah,
you don't have your after dinner drink with breakfast. You have it, you can. I mean, but most of the time, like I say, you're trying to have the best experience possible. So like you going from like a sour to a stout, or like a stout to like a lager, it's like, oh, that lager is going to be impacted. The flavors in that lager will be impacted by what's left on your palate from the stout. So, it's really just, like I said, about drinking the thing that's like the least palate coating first, thinking about the other things in that flight. And you don't have to know all the logistics about a beer, right? You can just kind of be like using common sense, saying like, well, maybe I want to drink like the beers that are like lighter first and then like the beers that are heavier last. Some people like to go the opposite direction. Again, that's up to you. But a lot of it is just about assessing your beer. And the reason why I also really wanted to do that was I want people to stop and assess their beer for a second. Like all of us, we just grab it, boom, pop it, we're drinking, but there's a whole lot that just like the aroma of a beer is going to tell you, the appearance of a beer is going to tell you. It starts to set you up for what type of journey you're going to experience, as you go.
Yeah. And I guess depending on educational side of the beer tender, they would normally kind of set up
Line it
your
up
flight
that
like
way.
that.
They
But
do.
you're good because all your yours is a sour flight, so you straight. So you don't even.
I may have a stout or a pilsner in there. I'm just not gonna have no IPAs in there, brother. Like every other thing is good. Like stop saying like sours are my favorite, but I like all the styles except for IPA.
Except for IPA. He's like,
Yeah, it's just that IPA is so popular, so I'm always hating. Like it sounds like I'm hating on all beers all the time because we talk about IPAs every fucking week. So we don't get to talk about sours and gozas and other styles every week. If we did, you would see me smiling like this when we talk about beers, but I can't when we talk about IPAs all the fucking
so Lou,
time.
I have a question for you then.
Please.
So do you like because of your love of sours, right? Like, do you also like kind of like the funky farmhouse ales and like things and mixed fermentation, mixed cocoa?
Yeah, that stuff they just leave out in the open. And
Yeah.
yes, give it to me. So to give you a full education on my journey in beer.
Yeah.
I started when we started this podcast. Like my beer of choice was Corona with grenadine in it, a Heineken that I would just carry around as a status symbol. Like I would never drink the Heineken, and Yuengling because it's a home brew, and that was the first craft brew that I ever heard of. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But when Rob asked me to come on the show, he was like, I want you to be on the show because you don't drink beer pretty much. And I want you to have your journey through this. Like find what you like. Yeah. And I'm a black man. Like my mama made Kool-Aid and sweet tea when I was little. So I like sweet shit. Yeah, I like sweet shit. So I try to, in finding out I like gozas and sours, I've realized that I don't like traditional beer. Like I like the science of the beer, like the adjuncts in the beer. I love fruit. So if you want to put fruit in the beer, I'm drinking that. Like even if you try to do it in an IPA, I'm gonna try it. You know what I mean? So that's where I come from. And then IPAs taste like what beer is supposed to be. Like when white men made beer, they're like, this is what we want beer to taste like. And I'm like, y'all are niggas are dumb. Like that I don't have no white man palate. I don't even want one if they like IPAs like that. I like this Negro palate that I got, and I'm sticking with it. So that's where I come from in not liking the IPAs. But stop saying that, Rob. It's just IPAs. I like every style of beer.
Yeah, to your credit though, I like the fact that you've had like a journey, right? Because I think one of the things that like I try to help with, because there are folks like, I don't drink, I only like sours, period, point blank. That's it. I don't mess with that. And I'm like, well, have you had anything else? They're like, nah, because I'm like, okay.
You gotta try it. You gotta try it. You gotta know that you don't like it. You can't just be. That's dumb. To like, it don't cost you but $8 to find out you don't like some shit.
Exactly.
Pay the $8 and find. And if you get a flight, it's $12 and you only got a little taste, and you only have to finish that. You only gotta finish that. So
100%.
Try everything, people. Like if y'all are listening and you just like sours, you just like IPAs. I've had an IPA that I've liked before. I definitely have drunk an IPA that I'm like, that shit's good.
Yes.
Most of them aren't though. But there are some out here that are really tasty. If there's some sours out here that are gross too. All styles have nasty beers, and all styles have really, really good beers.
Good beers. So
you can't pigeonhole yourself in the same. That's why I love. That's why I asked you to tell us more about the flights, because I think flights should be available. And like when people say they don't believe in flights, or breweries don't believe in flights, I have a hard time with that because of how I grew up in this beer. Like I grew up in the beer. Like I'm only drinking this much of beer. I'm never right. I'll re-pour it, but I want to carry this around. Yes. I don't want a pint. I don't want a pint of one thing because I can't even drink it. I can't even drink a pint of one thing.
I am that person, and throughout the city, people know I'm constantly coming in asking for. He's like,
I couldn't do it, Rob.
I'm like you, Lou. I'm asking for. If nobody does a flight, I'm like, well, I want, just pour me like a half of whatever. And sometimes they won't have it on their menu. I'm like, well, you're going to figure it out. I don't want, now, like I said, there are exceptions.
Absolutely.
Where I'll be like, yes, give me that whole pint. I want the whole thing. But ordinarily, I want a couple of different things. That's the fun part about beer. Like when I go anywhere, I'm going to want a couple. I don't want to be full. I don't want to be so full off of one thing, and I want that flight. Give me that flight, or give me that half pour.
You come to visit us. You go to Love
Yes.
City. You go to Attic Brewing. You've never been there before.
Yes, right.
You get 2 pints,
right.
but they have 15 different styles of beer. But you're not gonna be back to Philly for another who knows how fucking long.
Exactly.
Well, let me get 6 of your beers in a flight, and then I can buy a 6-pack or a 4-pack of what I like and take that home with me instead of 2 pints that I didn't agree with me.
Exactly.
And now I'm like that brewery in Philly was trash, but I only had 2 or 15 beers.
Welcome to the Wasted Festival. Grab you 6.
Yes.
Welcome to that's one of
Welcome
the
to the
things,
Wasted.
That's the upselling point. So a lot of breweries here, there was actually a panel at, I'm trying to think if Rob, if you were in this panel, it was a panel at CBC where a couple of folks talked about like how to upsell in breweries and how like the flight selling. Yes, how selling a flight is like a positive thing. Because, like you get people to really understand, like, okay, this is all the possible beers, and they're more likely apparently to walk out with like a 4-pack, to your point, of beer than if they just have 1 pint, So it's like from a sales perspective, but like you said, you have some breweries that are like, no, we don't do flight. I'm like, I get it, but then I'm like,
but you gonna do a flight today? You gonna do a flight this individual? Or I'm out. Like right. I'm not. I can't. It's so hard for me to even look. It's intimidating almost to see a pint of beer and be like, I gotta drink all of that. Whereas I finished this whole can. The can's gone. This is bigger than this a pint. I drunk it, but it's still something about
that sounds mental. That sounds like a mental block.
I'm not gonna say that it ain't. Look, it may be, Rob, but you did this to me, homie. Like this is your fault.
This is
you
your
put
fault.
this on me. The first time you gave me a beer, it came in a glass this size. Like, it's your fault. This is you and Yoda's fault.
I love it.
Y'all
I think nowadays most of them, they might not say they do flights, but now they do small pours, so it's the same.
Yeah. They also will sample. They also will give you a sample pour. I've never been a place that didn't do flights that didn't offer me 3 samples. You know what I mean? Like I need 3 samples before I make a decision on the pint that I'm about to get.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure.
And if you go in there and say, I don't know what kind of beer I like, you're gonna get samples anyway. Like, hey, try this then.
That's true.
That's true. You got a good brewery. They'll
That's
be
true.
like, walk through it. Let's walking through.
And that's kind of how you know if the brewery and the beer tender is worth their salt. If they don't sell flights and they're like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I want you to buy a pint. Here's 3. Here's what do you like? What can I interest you in? Oh, try these 3, and then I'll come back and you let me know what pint I can buy. I can pour for you. Mm-hmm. But if they just like, oh, we just sell pints and tell me what you want in a minute, I'll be back and walk away. I'm like, bro, give me a water. Give me a water, and I'm leaving when Rob is ready.
No, it's not.
When Rob's done his 3 pints, I'll be gone with my 4 own water. Hate you guys.
Right. Love it.
So I'm curious. I know you said.
Go ahead.
I know you.
Rob.
This is more questions about in terms. I know you said you were like did education on like tutoring on the side and education like that. But I'm curious because like with the educational piece and not even that just the presentation of the Beer Fact Fridays. Like, did you do TV or radio before or no?
Oh my God!
I was gonna say you got a voice for voiceover too. Like I feel like you're a cartoon in the making.
So many people ask me that and have been asking me that my whole life. I actually tried my my hand at voiceover acting at one point, and I think I just wasn't like thirsty enough to like keep going after. Because I mean, with that you got to like keep on putting your stuff out. You got to keep on creating demos. You got to keep on like trying to. But I get it all the time. Like people will stop me in the grocery store. Are you on the radio? Are you on the news?
Yeah.
Are you on the?
And it's you got one of them voices. You definitely got one of them. It's her and Barb. Her and Barb. Siren Stout.
Siren Stout. Yeah.
Y'all got the best voices in beer right now. Like,
thank you.
For sure.
Barb is so dope. She's She has
like
a voice too.
Yeah, like both of y'all, you can just close your eyes and just listen to what y'all gotta say. Y'all could be just reading the ingredients on the back of a can or something. Like it's really peaceful. Yeah, y'all got nice voices.
It. Yeah, no, I. But it's so funny though because I was thinking about this recently. When trying the whole like voiceover thing didn't work, and I was like, well, that kind of sucks. Like I have this voice, I don't know what I'm gonna do. We would have ended up, of course, like for things like like with making presentations and stuff at work and like all this. People are always like, oh my God, your voice is so, and I'm like, whatever, this is work. Like And so now it's weird because of beer. This is like my outlet for my voice. Like my voice is literally being heard all the time now. And I'm like, look how the two worlds came together. You know what I mean? Like my voice is being heard and people are like, oh, can you come talk, at my whatever? And I'm like, sure. I actually do really love, I'm that person, very, very probably the opposite of a lot of people. I love public speaking. Like, I'm like, give me a room, more people in it. Like, give it to me. Like, it's like a adrenaline. Like, I'm like, yes. Like, okay, this room is full of like 150 people. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just because at one point in my life, when I was like a little kid, like everybody starts their like public speaking journey in church. So I was the same way, Easter speech, you know what I mean? And I just remember my mom being like, get up there, and do your Easter speech and, and I remember being just terrified. And over time, I was like, I gotta, like, it was one of those things I just wanted to conquer. This is like a 8-year-old. I was like, I don't want to feel like I'm going to cry in front of these people, and so over time, it just became something I was like, let's try to like turn it into something different. And so
was 8-year-old LaTreace, did 8-year-old LaTreace have the voice? Or did the voice come later on in life?
Probably like 10 or 12-year-old LaTreace had the voice. Like people would ask my parents, like, "Oh, does she?" It's like when you're in school and they have like the oration.
Toastmasters.
Yeah. Toastmasters. There you go. They were like, "Oh, is she in Toastmasters?" And my parents be like, "No."
Are you in Toastmasters now?
No.
Shit. Toastmasters missing out on the gym. They need to call you. Toastmasters, if y'all listening.
Man, Toastmasters, hey, if you listen to
yeah, man.
Just, people always say like your voice is distinct, or they will hear me and they'll be like, we know it's you. Like we heard, I can't get away with like just being somewhere and speaking. They're like, look, LaTreace is here. I'm like, it works.
And you're the voiceover actor that'll be 14 different cartoons. And no one will know until they hear the voice of the cartoon side by side. Like, it's the same voice. It's the same voice.
It'll be like
for 20 years.
Pre-summer.
Yes, yeah.
Was the voice like all those Simpson characters.
She's Elmira from the Looney Tunes. Like, all these people. And you're like, damn, that's Cree, huh?
Yep. No
that's how same voice. Delroy Lindo. He all these cartoons talking the same way. Like, damn. I wish I would.
You know Delroy. You know Delroy voice.
But not in his cartoon though. Not when he's on cartoon. I'm like, is that? Oh, I gotta look at the that sure was Delroy. It's always in my mind, but I never know. For a fact. But yeah, very very nice voice. I got a Beery Godmother cartoon idea set up that we could talk about off air.
Okay.
You have to voice it though. I
have to voice. Yeah, I mean,
of course. Who else gonna voice it? You are the Beery Godmother, right?
Yes.
Are you CBS certified in any way? Cicerone certified in any way?
Yeah. So I have my certified beer server.
Okay.
And then I have passed the first. I took the tasting first and then the written for the Cicerone. So I passed the tasting. I'm going to be retaking. I actually took the written and just found out I missed it. I didn't pass it by like a couple points, like which sucks. Which you're always like, oh. But
do it all over
but the thing is that of all the people that are like my mentors from an educational perspective in this industry, all of them have told me the story. Like none of us passed any of these things on the first try. Like
that's a lot of motivation.
I'm like, okay, this is good. So I have a couple advanced Cicerones right now who are mentors of mine who are either going for their master or are planning to go for their master, and they're like, it took me 3 times to pass my my advanced. It took me 2 or 3 to pass my certified Cicerone. So for me, certified Cicerone is like I gotta pass that. That's like I 150% want it.
It's 4 total. That's 3 or 2.
That's 2.
So you did the tasting and you passed that. Once you pass it once, you don't have to. So since you didn't pass the written, you only got to pass the written.
Yeah. So the whole thing is based on a cumulative score, right? So you have to get at least an 80% overall on like both the tasting and the written and the demo. There's like a 4% of your grade is this demo, which is either like put together a faucet and take apart a faucet and put it together and talk about all the parts. Or sometimes it's like, how do you clean a beer glass with the appropriate sinks? There's like, different water that you're supposed to use and different cleaner. So there's a couple of different demo options, but with all your cumulative scores have to be 80%. And so, but you have to pass your your tasting with at least a 70. So there's all these parameters. The written is more highly weighted than the tasting. And so, but your scores never go away. They always take the best. So it's like, if you retake something or whatever, they take the best. So I think for me, it's important, like, because people say, well, how important is it really to like have your cicerone? And for me, it's a marker of knowledge, right? So it's not necessarily a marker of how I'm going to do everything in my business. It is a marker of knowledge. And because I am a person who does not work directly in the beer industry, who's out here trying to approach breweries, approach bars, etc., and tell them, like, I want to train you, their first question could be, well, why can't one of my people train you? I'd be like, well, I'm bringing
I'm
this
level 2. Yeah, I'm level 2 here.
I'm level 2.
Yeah. Because everybody's maybe, yes.
A lot of people are level 1, but like level 2, 3, and 4, but 2 is still a big milestone because that starts to separate, like the level of knowledge. I mean, and all of them are ratcheted up. I mean, but everybody has told
it's just like I got a GED or I got a bachelor's degree.
Yep.
Who gets the job?
Yes.
Like most of the time, it's going to be the bachelor's degree guy, and we don't care what he got. We don't care what he got a degree in.
Yep.
We know what your GED is in, and I don't. He got a the bachelor's, and we want him to pour beer. But because of his bachelor's, here we go. Yeah,
and that's the thing with the cicerone. They don't even ask. Nobody will ever ask you what you get on your cicerone. Like,
no one cares about no biologist cares about my GPA I got in college at all. At all, man.
Exactly.
I've never been in any interview for a science job, and they say, "Well, what you get in biology?"
What you get in biology?
Never had that. Never had that question.
They don't care about that. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
So,
I think I got that question in the first job. That was it, though.
Really?
First job, they asked your GPA, overall GPA.
Yeah, right. Very first job. Right. Yeah.
No, I didn't get that either. But honestly, my first job out of college was like 4 years after college, so I was a bum. So that was my Atlanta time. My Georgia Atlanta time. I had no real jobs in Georgia. Yes. I don't know what the mark. I was waiting tables and delivering shit, trying to sell insurance.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I mean, that's the whole thing there. But yeah, I mean, I think I encourage anybody who's interested to go.
Now, are you just trying to go to level 2 and stop there, or do you want to be a full blown?
So it's funny, like I had never thought about doing advanced, but I've been getting inspired by some people around me who are like taking that plunge into like going to advanced. So I'm like, advanced could be something on my map. Now, I think there are only maybe 30 or 32 master cicerones in the world. That's like
very few. Yeah.
I didn't know it was that little.
I mean, and probably when we get to advanced, I mean, maybe a little over 100 of them in the world, like in the world. We're not talking about So it's
how many are at the level you're trying to get to? Do you know?
Oh man, certified. I mean, I would probably say maybe 300 or 400. I mean, in the it's still low. I mean, I mean, it may be more. I mean, I have to live with
10,000 CBSs. I feel like it's 10,000.
Oh, there's a whole lot of CBS. Yeah, but I mean, also the thing too, the question of accessibility, like CBS is something is like, a lot of breweries will pay for it, for their staff sometimes, or CBS, is like, I think $75 or something like that, maybe. Yeah. But like the next level of certified cicerone, I mean, it's expensive. Like I think like maybe 175 for the written and like 125 for the taste. Like it starts getting up there. And if you have to retake it, you gotta do it again. But they take a little bit of money off, but it's not a lot of money off. So it's like, how do we start making this more accessible?
You can't just love beer and want to be a cicerone. You gotta love beer.
You gotta love beer and have some.
Yeah, because then you got to study. So that means you got to drink a lot of beer to study.
Oh my God,
beer costs money.
That could be a whole different podcast. I mean, me talk about my journey of studying for the cicerone is like a beast. And you got
we're gonna have you back for that. I want to hear about that.
Okay, there we go.
Rob, we ain't never had nobody talk about their actual testing journey
becoming cause I'm curious to know between just that and like somebody, because I mean I know First State has a master cicerone, I believe, at that the QC the quality control stuff at their things. I'm sure that was a mess.
Yeah,
But
like
even when I see like sommeliers and stuff like that, I'd be like, yo, how do you even know I just squigged this wine in my mouth? I'm like, that was from 1977 on the south of France.
right.
Like, what?
That barrel is not oak. That barrel is not oak. That's a walnut barrel. Like what? Wow.
Right. I mean, it's crazy. Like, I mean, the difference between the certified beer server exam and actual certified Cicerone, it's like night and day. I mean, you really cannot get away with just like, oh, what's in your head? You know, you gotta know that stuff. For the tasting, it was style identification. So saying like, is that they give you, you know, a style and maybe like, is this blank or blank? But of course they're giving you styles that are similar. Like, I mean, very easy, you know, an IPA and a stout, they're not gonna give you that. They're gonna say, you know, is this a, I don't know, like I think I had on my test, like, is this a Belgian triple or a Belgian golden strong or something like they were close, you know, like things that are like, you know, you had to do off flavor identification. And that whole thing is all about how good your own palate is at identifying off flavor.
So basically the Beery Godmother Fact Fridays is just you studying. That's just this is just a way for you to study and get better for your personal. This is selfish of you. This is not you're not doing this for us. Like you're doing this so you can be a Cicerone.
No,
I get it. Every week, you got to take videos of yourself so you can educate your own. I got it.
Well, you know, I will say there was a big difference. So like I said, studying, when I studied for the tasting, I was all just drinking a lot of beer. You have to drink a lot of beer and you have to do it in a discerning way. Like I spent a month and a half drinking literally nothing but Pilsners and lagers because I was having a very hard time telling them apart. And I knew I was going to have to know how to tell them apart. So
that is tough.
A month.
And so I was like, okay, but then for the written, it's next level. I mean, you got to know the history, evolution of stuff. So I will say my Beer Fact Fridays got easier once I had studied all of that stuff for the written because I was like, well, I know this. Like, this is in my mind. I don't have to like go and like verify anything or like, and I'm always checking my facts. I feel like everybody needs to be thinking about if you ever put anything out, you can't be afraid to be like, I gotta check my facts. I gotta check my facts.
Right.
But I would know things and just be like, okay, I know, you know, this thing better. So you're right. I mean, and it keeps me honest, but like, you know, right now I'm going to be preparing to retake my written at some point here very soon because I do not, after you've studied for study, you don't want to lose it and then have to start back studying hardcore again. So but I'm like, you know, like this information, you know, if I can explain it to somebody else, you're right. I
can do it.
Then I know
you can do it yourself.
You know, that's always the way I used to study when I was a kid and through college or whatever. It was all about saying it out loud because you can BS on, you know, writing stuff down and whatever. But if you know how to say it and it can explain it to somebody else, then that's how you know it.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take that excuse. I'll take that.
Now are you also doing the the BJCP stuff as well?
Yeah. So that's another thing I'm going to be doing. I already have some support for that, like from a couple, like I said, mentors of mine who are like, all right, we'll write, you know, letters because you have to get like 2 letters of like, I guess, recommendation, and then you have.
What is this? We don't.
Yeah.
You and Rob know, but y'all are smarter in beer than we are. Yeah, dumb it down.
Good. Yeah. So for BJCP stands for the Beer Judges Certification Program, and BJCP is based solely on styles. So, you know, whereas Cicerone is like the collective beer. We're talking about history, serving, pairing beer, and styles. The BJCP is only styles. So like, you know, everybody for free can go download the BJCP app. There's what, you know, and it allows you to see what a beer style is supposed to be based on you know, the actual parameters for that style. Like, so how a beer is supposed to taste, I should say, based on the parameters of that style, right? And so you can take a look at that. It is a great like thing to kind of have in your back pocket literally in your back pocket, just to when you go places. You know, a lot of people look at Untapped, and I'm like, yeah, Untapped's cool. But if you really want to know the real facts about what a beer is supposed to taste like, you look it up in BJCP. So
yeah, isn't Untapped just the people's opinions?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Isn't that like what's it called? For beer,
Yeah.
Something for beer.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's almost like Reddit for beer.
Yeah, thank you. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, yeah, which is fine. It has its place, but I was going to say like,
But it's not necessarily education like the BJCP app would be.
Yep,
Okay.
exactly. And so, like I said, it's all styles, and you know, you can take a look at it. And so for BJCP, it's judging that I would be. So I do want to be a beer judge. I feel like there is a severe lack of people of color, particularly Black people, who are being beer judges, and we have different palates. To be real, it's all based on like exposure, you know. And so like I don't know what some of these things I'm like, people describing things. I'm like, I don't know what that tastes like, because I was never exposed to that flavor. And so, you know, all these homebrew competitions, various other beer competitions, like, you know, you get way up and you're judging like the Great American Beer Festival or stuff like that. You know, you got to have somebody who drinks a beer and can judge it based on what that beer style is supposed to be technically, right? Not just this is good or bad, but like, you know, does it meet the style parameters? So I've had an opportunity to judge, a couple of different competitions. Yeah.
Now within that particular the BJCP realm, is that can you go into it like I'm a master of sours, I'm a master of IPAs? Like I'm judging just these particular beers, or is it just like
you just get into the West Coast IPA, son?
Holistic. Now I think after a while, so when you first come in, when you first come in, it's everything. Right now, over time, you might start getting called upon. This is what I understand to be the case, right?
Okay.
Like, you know, you might start getting called upon as, you know, if you're like a renowned, you know, taster of sours. You know,
why you laugh? I don't like the chuckle.
I just laugh because like that's not the first time somebody's asked me that. So I'm like,
that sounds ridiculous. No,
that's how she laughed at me.
No, I like, you could be a curator of sours or a curator of stouts but most of the time they want you to come and judge all, because these homebrew competitions, I mean, there could be literally anything.
Listen, I've been I judged a homebrew competition before. It was like 16 beers that I tasted. 3 were absolutely amazing.
Yep, that's how they. Yep.
3 were average at best, and what I got 10 to go. The other 10 were just throw that shit in the trash. Like you wasted.
You wasted. Yeah, I mean, it's wild. I had the same experience here, where, you know, the ones that won, I was like, this is phenomenal. Like this,
you could put this on tap now
and beat out a lot of breweries.
Exactly.
On tap right now. I mean,
and then the worst one you had that day, you just like, how did you even submit this?
Yeah,
I can see you making it. Because sometimes you don't know it's gonna be nasty when you taste it. But you tasted it and bottled it and gave it to the judge.
And gave it to,
he probably was like, oh, I did this.
No, they didn't. They were done. They didn't have another beer to do, and they were at a deadline. So they were like, fuck it, I'll get a 0.
It's like people who show up at like American Idol, like, my mom said I could sing, so people probably taste it and say, "You did it, bro."
All his or her friends is getting drunk off the beer. Like, this is it, my man. Submit this.
Talking about the background. That is not what we need to be doing.
That's true. That's true. I feel that I'd be feeling bad when you like. What if a person is like that, right? Like, I think this is the best that I've ever made. I've been doing this for 3 years, and you like. So I try, anytime it's a trash beer in a judge competition, I try to give as many notes as I can. If it's a good beer, if it deserves to be on tap, that's all I need to say. Is like, this beer is exquisite. It could be on tap at other breweries. But if it's trash, I'm writing paragraphs. Like, you need to go here with yours. You should go back to the store. You should talk to another brewer. You should have some friends help you brew this. You shouldn't be blind when you brew. Maybe you should put your glasses on and take the blinders. Never mind.
You shouldn't be blind when you brew.
I just go into depth, more in depth about it.
Yeah. So that's like a whole different thing, and I'm trying right now to like balance. You know, like I really want to do beer judging, but like I said, that's just yet another certification to take
Yeah.
that's more
Yeah.
focused on the style part.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. Any more questions for LaTreace?
Nah, man. Thank you for everything you're doing. Like, it's weird.
Absolutely.
We've been doing this podcast for a while, and we always get people that start around COVID
Yeah.
and started their journey on whatever business that they're running around COVID.
Yeah.
But you're
Yeah.
so specific, and you have such a nice niche.
Yeah.
You got there's a lot of potential. I see a lot of things going well with what
Yeah.
you're
Well,
doing.
thank you.
You
Thanks
just need to
all
hire
for-
some people so that you could keep this Fed job and still
I know.
keep the Beery Godmother.
I
going
mean,
on.
yeah, man. It like I'm telling you, it has crossed my mind. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So
I mean,
yeah.
sometimes some jobs can be a little, like, yo, can I do this part time now? After you
I
get to a
know,
certain
right?
point.
I know.
right, Rob.
Yeah, seriously, but yeah.
Or bring your igloo to work.
Yeah.
Bring your igloo to work. If the boss loves beer, you don't gotta work no more. Like, you don't have to work no more.
Right.
Every Friday, bring him some beer. You can take off on Monday.
Right. Hey, there you go. We're like, hey, there it is. Get the boss on board. But yeah, I mean, yeah, y'all. I've definitely been watchers of the podcast, and it's just such an honor to, you know what I'm saying, come on. And like I said, met Rob in person. Lou, I'm sorry I couldn't meet you, but it was so dope, like just being able to like interface all that stuff we did at CDC and just being around, more Black people who are doing this thing, man. And
it's such a good thing. Like you said, when you and Jen started, it was just the two of y'all, and now you can't go to a beer fest in Georgia. It will never be just the two of y'all again. And it's that I feel like it's that way everywhere. Like me and you, Rob, when we went to the beer fest in Philly, it was like 15 different Black people that I'd never seen before.
That's awesome.
That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen.
So when it did, I was excited. I was like, I told Todd about that, bro. I was like, yo, man, y'all really doing good with this inclusivity thing that y'all got going on. I appreciate y'all, man, because it's a lot. Y'all did promote to the Black community because they out here. It's never going to be as many as it is them. Yeah. But when you can see some people you don't know and cheers them from a distance, that's always a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
You don't got to talk to all the, just because we the only Black people there don't mean we got to talk. But I could definitely hit you with the cheers, my guy.
Mm-hmm. I see you.
I see you. Right.
Hopefully I'll see you at the next one. Yep. That's how it is for sure.
For sure.
But yeah, thank you for coming, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Proud of you.
I want to thank LaTreace Harris, aka the Beery Godmother, for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Before we go, we always like to know how people can find you on these World Wide Web, social medias, and all that good stuff. So how can they find more about the Beery Godmother LLC and all that good stuff?
Yeah, so find me at the Beery Godmother, all one word, on Instagram. And from there, you also can hit my link tree while the website is in development to get a chance to be able to see just, examples of some of the things that I'm doing right now. And yeah, just, check me out. I run my own account. So always there, happy to answer questions and interface with folks.
How about that shirt? What's up with that shirt? We're going to get that shirt.
Oh, yeah. Well, so I don't have any, I've been getting the question more and more about merch. And so, hopefully for the end of the year, I'll be able to actually have some merch that I'm selling. And I'll definitely keep your post.
I don't want to put you out or nothing, but can you stand up so we can see the shirt? I can't see the shirt.
Yeah. Hang on. Let me give me my sweatpants. Yeah. See?
Oh, sweatpants is fine. You were working out. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I was. Yeah. So there you go.
That's kind of the wings.
Yeah. That was good. You don't got to redo that right away. You don't got to redo that right now. That's
okay. All right. See, now, okay. All right.
Me and Rob approve. Bruising Banter approve.
I appreciate you. Yeah, I've gotten some requests for this particular shirt, and I have a sweatshirt that just has like the logo on it with no words. So gotten to ask for that one too. So, like I said, I feel like coming into the fall, have a couple of, do some little limited merch runs and see how it goes. And
yeah, for sure. That sounds good.
Cool.
All right.
Thank y'all.
Lou, how can they find you?
Man, I am on them Instagrams. My name is Lou Belgium.
All right. And you can find Bruising Banter Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Bruising. And Threads. I gotta say Threads.
Yeah, not Twitter. Twitter? We still on Twitter? Not for long. Not for long.
At Bruising Banter Podcast. You can listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can even say, Alexa, play Bruising Banter Podcast because we're on Amazon Music. You can also go to www.bruisingbanter.com if you want to find out where we are and get some of the merch like this and that. There you go. If you want to follow me, Rob Stay Bruising, there it is. Bing, 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 bing. And if you want to follow 302 Yoda, I am 302 Yoda. I know he's not here, but that is where you can find him. Once again, we want to thank the Beery Godmother for coming through.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
This has been episode 209 of Brews and Banter podcast. Until next time,
Have a good week, everyone.
peace.
Cheers. Have a good one.
Peace.